Hello and welcome to another episode of Terrific Tips for Business. I am Terry, your host, of course, because you cannot spell terrific
The
without
following
Terry.
is rated R.
Oops. Welcome to live stream where random things happen all the time. It's always a new adventure. I'm so grateful that you are tuning in with us today. And today I have the one, the only Bert Oliva with us. And for those of you that don't know Bert, he has his own intro video.
Oh, let's do that. Hold on.
The following is rated R for results and may not be suitable for the negative mind. Bert Oliva is an international orator, as well as a renowned authority on leadership and human behavior. For over 2 decades, Bert Oliva has touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. He speaks around the world about his experiences, and his teachings have enchanted audiences all over the world, showing them the power of mind over matter. Bert has a dedicated social media following and an impressive online influence few possess.
People are looking for that edge, you know?
And you know who's going to get us there?
You tell me.
Bert Oliva.
Hi,
Bert Oliva.
Bert Oliva.
Enabling him to communicate with all kinds of audiences.
Considered the voice of inspiration and motivation.
He has developed many programs, recorded audio CDs, and written books, all of which to help those ranging from individuals to corporate and Fortune 500 companies. He has dedicated his life to speaking all over the globe and met some of the most influential and powerful people in the world.
Okay, let's go.
He has also coached highly successful business executives and politicians.
To influence millions of people around the world.
Make it
We're
happen.
making it happen.
Bert Oliva is a success and the father of humanology. So get ready to learn tools that will help you tap into your potential. Get ready to connect and be part of a positive, world-changing mission. Get ready to have an experience you won't soon forget. Please help me welcome Bert Oliva.
Yay! I am so honored and blessed to have you on the show today, Bert. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. The honor and privilege is all mine. So my listening audience, you know now why we have Bert on the show today. There is nobody better to be here with us to help us bust through some of those challenges that we're facing. So Bert, my first question for you today is, what's one of the biggest challenges you've had to face in your career?
Well, it depends. In my career, there's been many, but in the past year, it's pretty much the same challenge that we've all gone through. A lot of people have given up on their dream. They're like, they had a certain ritual or a certain way of doing business, and they didn't want to do they think it was going to just come around really quick. And at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. And it's not just our country. For those that don't know, we're in the United States of America. This is not just our country. This is the global thing that's happening. So one of the things we had to do is, sit down with my team and realize, okay, what's going to go, what are we going to do next, right? Everything happened. We were going from country to country doing seminars. I've been doing it for over 27 years. We were booked. Everything was great. Everything was wonderful. The money was coming in. The life was beautiful. Everything was great. But then what happens is that they shut us down, right? So they shut down one state, then the other state. Then, next thing you know, different countries. So this is basically all we do is seminars around the world, leadership and human behavior. So that wasn't working. So we're like, okay, what we're going to do next? We've been doing Zoom and this virtual platform for a long time, but the only difference was that people were not as engaged as they are now, because now they have more time and they've been taught, or they're learning the process of being online. So we really didn't have a large audience online. Our audiences are from live events. So we're like, okay, what are we going to do? We got to do something different. And we started doing the programs. We started, getting involved, doing, podcasts like these, getting involved with the right people, getting your name out there. Because at the end of the day, I truly believe that right now we're in a position that's an equal playing field, right? Doesn't matter how much money you had before this or how much money you have now, but now is a perfect time to get your face out there. Like what you're doing, Terry, getting known, getting your presence, marketing has never been so easy. People complain that I don't have the money. You really don't need money. As long as you have, social media, and as long as you have some sort of technology, even just an iPhone or an Android phone, you can get out there and people get to know who you are. So what we did is, instead of getting depressed or sad or, worried, what is it that what we could do to make sure that we kind of compensate, not replace the way we're doing business, but compensate and figure out a new way of doing business. And that's what we've been doing. So it's scary. We're going through scary times. And I don't believe that people should be afraid. They should channel their energy and drive it in the right direction. So whether you're afraid or you're a little sad, channel that energy, right? You said that you do yoga. I think you have a yoga studio also. So you more than anyone here would know how important it is to channel your energy. So energy is going to be there. The thought process is going to be there. Everything's going to be there. But how you channel your energy is really how you'll benefit from the outcome, And a lot of people get stuck. So, there's been a lot of challenges. When I started my career back in the day, it was back a long time ago. There was only, in my business, there was only Anglo whites or Black Americans, right? You had Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, and then you had your Les Brown, TD Jakes. And there was no market over 27 years ago for a Latin guy called Bert Oliva. And I said, perfect. Right? One thing I learned from one of my good friends and mentored, Les Brown, he said, Bert, the how is none of your business. We get stuck in the how all the time, right? Like, how is it going to happen? And what about if I do this and this doesn't work? Well, you'll never know if you don't get started. Long story short, because I got started 27 years ago, I've traveled the world and, for over 27 years, been pretty much in a ton of countries, do seminars, not only in English, but in Spanish also. And I've shared the stages and with my mentors who are now my friend. Right. So I've been on the platforms with all these guys and I just learned. And I tell my children, like I tell everyone else, become a straight F student in life. Fail fast forward. Eventually you'll figure it out. So just give it a shot, give it a try. This is what I love what it is that you're doing. When you said to me, this is the first time I'm going to go live, I said, perfect. I want to be the first one to go live with Terry.
I'm so glad that you are, because wow, that was an action-packed, a lot of lessons came out of that. And so one of the questions that I have, because you talked about this need to pivot, right? This need to make a shift and make a change. I know everybody who just heard the word pivot rolled their eyes because we've used that a lot this year. But you mentioned like, okay, so we were doing these live seminars, we were in person, most of our fans are in person. We had to find a way to support them in a digital space. What were some of the questions that you were asking yourself to determine what's going to be the best way to do that without getting stuck in the how? Because that is what we do. We get stuck in the how really easily.
Well, when it first happened, the first thing I started doing was connecting with people. Because one of the things I'm sure it's the same thing with you. One of the reasons that I got into self-help and I started doing it and I started getting the feedback that was great is because of the human connection. And that's why I love live events, because you get to meet the people, you get to connect, you feel the audience's energy, you feel the love, and it's just a beautiful thing. In social media or in a virtual platform, there's some sort of a disconnect, right? Because we're getting along, we get to know each other, we can laugh, we can do things like, oh, you guys agree with me, say yes, right? So you can do all this stuff, you can have fun with it, but at the end of the day, there's still a little bit of disconnection. So one of the things that we started doing was doing as many podcasts, as many Zoom calls that people will reach out to me and say, hey, would you be on my show? I would say yes. No matter if they had 500 followers, 50 followers, 2 followers, or 5,000, because you need to practice. Even though it is quite different, it's kind of the same, right? You got to remember this here is your stage. And you'll notice that some speakers that are really great on a platform, when they get behind a camera, they're kind of timid. They don't have voice fluctuation. So at the end of the day, one of the things that I did was I practice. Get out there and do as many Zoom calls as you can with everyone and anyone. Doesn't matter. Some of them weren't so positive people that got me in there. But at the end of the day, you got to know how to deal with people that weren't on the same page, people that just want you on their show so they can try to, second guess what it is you're doing. And that's fine, but you're not going to know how to do that or deal with that unless you go out there. One thing a lot of people were doing, they were going on stages, and the more you get on the stage, the better you're going to get at it. So I tell people, practice, go out there and do it. Don't think that you're a prima donna, you're a great celebrity, and I'm only going to do podcasts for anyone that has 1 million followers or more, nothing less. No, doesn't matter, because you don't know who. Number one, when you do a podcast or you do a show like this, maybe right now we might have 2 followers, maybe we have 500, but it's on the web. And it could be that one message, that one podcast that changes that person's life. And they wouldn't even have heard of you if it wasn't for Terry, if it wasn't for that show. So I don't want to hear that everyone is so busy that they can't take an hour, a day to do a Zoom call. You can make time. And that's one thing I think. It's time for you to make time, go out there and do as many podcasts as possible.
I love that, because it really does come down to we're practicing, right? And the beautiful thing about the society that we live in right now is people crave that, like, be real with me, Bert. Like, be real with me. And we're only going to be real when we're fucking up, because that's when realness happens, right? It doesn't happen when you're polished in a studio and you've had practice naturally. It's going to happen accidentally in front of audiences. So I love that tip of go out, practice, and let the podcast be your trial round.
And also one of the things I recommend too, Terry, is some people do lives, right? And then they go on a tangent. They're on a live for 40 minutes without teaching anything. We live in a fast food society where fast food is not fast enough. We want everything like yesterday. When I grew up, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but when I grew up at Burger King, you can have it your way. That was their slogan. Now you have it their way. Do you want a number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? So what it is, stop doing those 40-minute podcasts or Zoom or lives on social media. Do 5-minute ones. People will actually engage more. And also do live. And then also you can do your pre-recorded stuff, which is great. But people want to see the behind the scenes. The people are fascinated when you have bedhead or, and I'm not telling you to go out there and always do that, but, let them into your life a little bit.
I was just going to say, it's that behind the scenes sneak peek. Like, if you could imagine being on the set for your favorite TV show or your favorite movie, that would be like the best thing ever, because you got the behind the scenes, like, actor gossip or whatever was going on. You got to smell the air and taste the food and do all of the things. Well, that's exactly what your fans want too. And that's all it takes is a 5-minute, like, hey, this is what we're seeing in the office today, or hey, this question's come up this week. So what's a question that's been coming up a lot for you this week, Bert, in your business?
Oh, I don't know. That was a good question. I wasn't part of the questions you sent me. No, I'm only kidding. You just gotta
hold on a
minute. We set this up, right? We have all the questions and all the answers here for you. So, it's all been, pre-done. No. I get a lot of questions, right? I get a lot of questions like, are you concerned with what's happening? Not concerned, aware that something is happening, and then looking for the results and the solutions of things, not getting stuck in the, I'm a victim mindset, right? A lot of other questions is, what's the best social media platform? The one that you're in. Choose the one you're in. One of the biggest mistakes that I see all the time about social media is that I want you to post your content everywhere, but choose one to become your primary social media platform, because that's how you're going to get followers. If not, you're diluted. You're trying to get followers on Facebook and on YouTube, and that's okay to post it everywhere, but choose that one where people know that they can find you and connect with you one-on-one. So at the end of the day, a lot of people, they're trying to do too many things. They're diluting themselves. They're not getting the results. And then remember, sometimes, and before this pandemic, this whole thing that's happening, whatever it is that's going on, you would have more people watching your feed. You would have more people, commenting and getting involved. Now you're seeing a drop. Is it these social media companies restricting it? Possibly. But it's also, there's more choices out there. There's more things going on. So don't take it personal. Forget about the vanity matrix. Forget about the likes and the follows that you get. I'd rather have a smaller group that are engaging with you. And really when I, like, for example, I know some of my friends have, 2 million, 3 million followers, and that's online. When they go to a main event, no one shows up to see them speak, because there's really, just having those numbers doesn't mean that you have that loyalty, that connection. You'll have
Ooh,
more.
that's such a good point. Just
Yeah. So
having those followers doesn't mean you have the connection. I
no.
just wanted to highlight that again because it's so good. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, because that's what the people are like. Oh, well, I got 2,000 followers. I have 5. No, you don't have anything. What you need to do is build a loyal following, and the only way you're going to do that is building relationships, right? Like right now, I met you through someone that's in one of our programs, and then you actually met my wife, and then she brought it to the program. You got to become a guest at the program, and then next thing you know, now you and I are talking. Next thing you know, I'm talking to your husband about his CEO platform and his web designs, or whatever it is that he does, which is high-end stuff, right? So at the end of the day, that's how business is done, building relationships, not just trying to close people. And that's what people have done. I'm sick and tired of seeing I call them infomercials on social media, how 3 steps are going to make you rich, how 3 steps are going to change. No, it's not that easy. If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. There's work to be done. And those people that are willing to do the work are the ones that are going to succeed.
Yes, so good. And I love this because it falls in line with what I talk to people about all the time. When we're building relationships, it's a process. It takes time. I love that Matt McConaughey walks into his relationships with 100% trust 100% of the time on the very first meeting. And that's absolutely beautiful. And if we all lived that way, it would be a very different world than where we are. But a lot of people walk into a new encounter or a new situation with the baggage from the last one still on their shoulder. They're still carrying that around, and they're judging this new situation based off of what happened 5 minutes ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. And that's going to affect how quickly they receive or accept or are open to the information that you give them. So that's going to affect how long it takes to build that relationship, to build that trust. And if we get out of the concept of always be closing and get into the concept of always be connecting, that totally changes how this can be done. I'm so with you. I'm totally over
I
the
love what you're saying. What you're basically saying, very simple to break the down. Let me give them a quote. Success doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. You have to put in the work.
put in the work. Exactly. And it does take time. And you do have to be present. Like, you could hire a digital agency to go and do your social media management and your email marketing and your website marketing. And at the end of the day, your clients digitally are connecting with the agency. And if that messaging is different than what they feel when they walk in your door, oops, now you have buyer remorse. You have this disconnect that happens. And that's what's happening in our world right now. And people are starting to realize that they need to be more involved. So is there a tip that you can give us for our business owners out there who are like, I already have a million things on my plate, Bert. I can't be present.
Oh, you know what? Let me see if I can bring it up here. I have a great recipe that I have been doing it for years. Here, let me bring this up. It's called The Way You're Conditioned, right? And it's going to take about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly, but just to give you an idea, this is some of the things. Pop myself in this corner so you guys know I'm still here with you guys. So one of the things is that it takes 45 seconds to change your state or state of mind. Most people want to succeed. They want to become wealthy in 45 seconds. I mean, in 45 days, it takes time. So what I tell people is, in my latest book, Don't Drink the Kool-Aid, Think Red, Rational Educated Decisions, we have this recipe where if you're now aware on how your subconscious works, then it's not that difficult if you do it in little processes, right? So 45 seconds. 45 seconds could be doing a victory dance like I do in my shows, having somebody dance to music for 45 seconds. It creates a state change. Now, if you do that for 45 seconds and you do it for 21 days, now it's not coming up, here it is, and you do it for 21 days, it takes 21 days to change or create a habit. By the way, Terry, that includes weekends. So a lot of people want to do things and they're like, I'm taking the weekend off. It doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, and you know, I'll tell people, you know, how many of you guys go to the bathroom every day? You know, raise your hand. And then people say, yeah, I do. Does your body says this is the time I go to the restroom? Some people are just like that, but for the most part, when you need to go, you need to go. But it's something you do daily. So if you want to create a massive change in your life, don't worry about the 45-minute webinar that you're trying to do or live. Do a 45-second one. Do it for 21 days. At the end of 21 days, is your life are you going to become wealthy? Not really, but you're creating cycles. You're doing it in increments of 21 days. You know, if you look at, you know, back in the old days when people used to go to work for corporate companies, they would give you 3 weeks training. 3 weeks was 21 days. Women that don't want to have a child, they take these little pills. If you look at the pills, it's 21 days. The rest are sugar pills. We are conditioned in cycles of 21. So whatever you want to do, start off with 45 seconds, change your state, then do it for 21 days. The next step, it takes 6 months to create what's called an addiction. Whether it's just a word. The word is only as powerful as the power you give it. But addiction can be a positive thing, right? Like for you, Terry, you love what you do to the point that, you know, you do your yoga. That I'm sure you do it for the most part every day. Even the days that you take off, you find a moment in place a couple times a day. So you find a couple of moments in places where you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do yoga today because I'm on a plane, but you use that time to meditate because you're already conditioned. It takes about 6 months. For those people that have ever gone to the gym to get in shape, you'll notice that once you've been working out for 6 months, at the end of the day, now after 6 months, you missed the one day and you don't feel so good. You're like, why? Because you've been conditioned. So this is the way that you need to start looking at life. 45 seconds, 21 days, 6 months. And then the last one, it takes 9 years to be institutionalized, right? So for those of you that have been married for 9 years, you've been institutionalized, right? So I've been together with my wife for over 30 years. So at the end of the day, let's think about it positive, right? When you look at companies that they've had dictatorships, it's over 8 years. Our country has 2 terms, 8 years. So it's kind of almost impossible to have a dictatorship. There was an interview on 2020 where and this you can look it up, they had nuns that young girls that wanted to be nuns, but they had bad relationships. They weren't virgins anymore. And they're like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and you know, the Vatican decided to accept them as nuns, but they had to go through a certain process. So they went ahead, they dressed them up. They looked beautiful, the whole process. They took them into the convent. When they went to the convent, the cameras were not allowed in the convent because they needed to be there for over 8 years. Because that's when you become institutionalized. So a lot of the patterns that you have in your life currently are things that you've been doing for 9 years. You just haven't been paying attention. So what I'm asking you to do, whether it's relationships or whether it's business, whatever it is you want to do, your health, don't just dive in because you're going to fail. That's why most people that start something in New Year's Eve and they're like, I'm going to do it. That says that about in 2 weeks, they give up on their New Year's resolution, right? And you remember, we spoke about this at the program that we were doing. So at the end of the day, take this recipe, look at it. You know what? I'm going to do something for the next 21 days. It's just 45 seconds. And then I'm going to do it for 6 months. And then I'm going to do that for 9 years. What happens is that you now, every 21 days, you're doing different things for 45 seconds. By the end of 9 years, you're in an amazing place. We don't realize this. It's like when people lose weight, I mean, when they gain weight, they're like, oh, I don't know how to gain all that weight. And then when you're trying to lose it, oh my God, it's taking so long. No, it took that long to gain it. But you didn't realize that you were gaining weight the whole time, or you didn't care you were gaining the weight. It's the same thing. It takes time to build it and it takes time to lose it. People think, you lose it overnight. No, it doesn't work that way. So when you do things, look at this recipe. It really works. People have loved it for many years. I usually dive deeper in the book and in my live seminars, but it's very simple. Put a sticky note, put it in front of your computer, and then look, I'm going to do things for 45 seconds, 21 days, 6 months, and 9 years. And after 9 years, I'll become, institutionalized, conditioned to doing things differently.
What I love about that too, Bert, is that we talk all the time in the world of marketing. We're both marketers. So we talk all the time in the world of marketing about instant gratification. We live in a world right now where you can go to the store and you can walk out the store with the food that you want to eat and you can be eating it while you're in the car, like instantly. It happens right now. But so many other things in our lives are not instant. Having a baby takes 9 months. That takes time. Losing weight takes as much time as it took to put it on as it does to take it off. Buying a house, that takes time. It takes at least 30 days from the time you decide you want the house to a lot of paperwork too, right? Going through the process of getting found online, starting a business, all of these things take time. But because we're in a society of, I can go to Google and find the answer to this question right now, or I can go to the store and buy that cheeseburger or that book or whatever it is right now, we think that things are faster than they are. And then we get frustrated when it takes longer than we thought that it would. Is there a game we
Because
can
we're
play
being
with
sold on
ourselves?
that. Terry, we're being sold on that, especially with social media. Social media, one of the things that I'm really against, and it's not that I'm a hater. I have beautiful homes. I have 20 acres in Nashville. I mean, I'm in a great place in my, and I thank this country for everything, by the way. I love the United States of America. I'm Cuban born, American made, right? So at the end of the day, they gave me the opportunity. This country gave me the opportunity, but it gives the opportunity to everyone. But it's the choices I made in order to get myself where I'm at. But I don't have to go out and show you my beautiful cars, my 10,000 square foot house. No, I don't believe in that. I believe that's wealth and balance. Whatever balance and wealth is for you, it's okay. But on social media, you have to show the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. You have to show the big houses. Why do you got to do that? I think eventually the whole world is in pain right now, whether you feel it or you don't feel it. Most people are feeling it. And I think in the next few months, you'll start noticing more people being real and not just focusing on wealth is all this, glamorous things. Some of the major influencers have dropped their numbers because people don't want to see that anymore. I think we need to go back to the basics. I think that you need to find whatever works for you, your balance, and then work your way from there and say, you know what, I want a little bit more success in my life. I want maybe more business. Maybe I'm happy right here. Maybe all I want to do is become a thousandaire. Not everybody has to be a millionaire. And I tell people, how many of you guys want to be millionaires? Everybody raises their hand. Great. Do you know you have to become a thousandaire first? There's a process. No one wants to go through the process. They want to be sold on this idea that it can be done overnight. Yeah. Any success story that you've seen, you go back and you realize, wow, any actor, they've been doing this for 12 years. They've been doing this for 15 years. They've been doing this since they were 7. It takes time. It's been said that it takes over 10,000 hours to make you, for you to become an expert in your industry or whatever it is you're doing. 10,000 hours.
That's a lot of time.
Right? So most people are like, no, you know what the process is.
Right. So is there a tool that you use that helps you best manage your time? I know there's a ton of different ways to manage our time, but time is our one resource that's not renewable, right? We have a limited resource and that's time. So how do we make the most of the time that we have?
Go back to the basics. Go back to having some sort of ritual or a routine. Most people have lost their routine because it's been taken away from them, whatever the case is. Go back to the basics. Like for example, back in the old days, I remember I would get my clothes ready. Back in the old days, like a year ago, right? I would get my clothes ready and I would say, you know what, this is what I'm going to wear tomorrow. So in the morning when I woke up, I didn't have to think about what I was going to wear tomorrow. Those people that have uniforms, they know exactly what they're going to wear. Steve Jobs was a genius. He wore the same thing all the time. So that way he didn't have to waste energy and time on what was he going to wear the next time, right? Same thing. Go back and create a list. Look at your list before you go to sleep. Do something positive. Don't go to sleep watching CNN or Fox or any newscast because subconsciously you're picking up all those negative things and you're going to sleep with that. You want to go ahead and go to sleep with meditation music. You want to go to sleep with a smile, maybe reading a book or looking at your significant other and telling them how much you love them and they love you too, and start going to sleep with positive thoughts. And then that way, when you're sleeping, then you'll have positive dreams and think good things will happen. But if you are taking all this negativity that's being thrown at us and you start owning it, and then you start becoming the victim of your own life, then don't come complaining to Terry or me and saying this doesn't work. It works, but work has to be done.
Yeah, we can't let ourselves be distracted by that stuff. We actually stopped watching the news the minute I moved out of my parents' house, which was 14 years ago. 15 years ago this year, and we've never looked back. Like, we have the news on when we're with my parents or when we're with his parents, but the news doesn't live in my house. Like, I get what I need to know through my networks. I know what's happening in the world. I'm not living under a rock, but I'm not also owning that. I'm not digesting that
I
information.
love it.
And it has freed me. It's freed my mind. I'm not under that much stress or pressure anymore. At the end of the day, what's
I'm telling
happening
you,
out
look,
there?
when if it's really important, you're gonna find out.
Exactly.
It's gonna come,
Exactly.
and then you do your own research and you look at it and you look at the right side, your side, whatever the side you want to do, and you're like, you know what? Okay, that makes sense. Good, move on.
Yeah.
But don't waste. Remember, you're wasting time when you're there watching all this negative stuff that's going on social media. Even when you don't want to watch it, the feeds are going to come in, and you put your thought process, your energy into watching this stuff, and then let me just wait another month. Maybe the stock market goes down, maybe it goes up. Keep working on your craft. Keep working on you, your family, the real important things. Because the day that you pass, you're not going to have an armored truck behind you with all your money, right? You're going to leave that behind. So it's not all about money. Just, another quote from Les, he said, money is not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen, right? You need it to live a great life. That's great, but don't let it be your guiding force. There's so many other things way more important. And that's what people are, they're not looking at those things. They're like, I want to be famous, rich, and fit and sexy and all those things that you're being sold on. Hey, look, if you're chunky but funky. It's okay. It's a positive thing. You don't have to take in the negativity that's being dished out.
What's interesting too is you referred to Steve Jobs a moment ago, and I thought I had remembered reading there's a study about the decision fatigue that we actually face as humans. So in a day, in a typical 24-hour period, there's only so many decisions we can make wisely. And after a certain number of decisions, we start making bad decisions. It's not because we don't know how to make a good decision. It's because we've gone through decision fatigue. And so the idea of having a uniform or putting out your clothes the night before helps to prevent some of that decision fatigue from happening the next day. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, no, and it's true though. Like Marcus Zuckerberg, same thing. T-shirt, no turtleneck, right? You look at Elon Musk, multi-billionaire. He doesn't wear Versace watches and shirts and stuff. No, he wears clothing. He buys a certain suit. And if you look at the videos and you look at some of the interviews, they're usually kind of the same outfit. We are being sold on garbage. We're being sold that in order to be successful, and by the way, make no mistake, I have the $20,000 watches. I wear expensive suits when I go on stage, but not because I was sold, because it makes me feel comfortable, because I enjoy it. But because I do it doesn't mean you have to do it, right? People, you find you. The most important person in the world, it's you. You are the most important person in the world. You cannot love someone if you don't love yourself. You cannot build a great business if you yourself are not in love with your business. You need to center yourself, find yourself, which is what Terry does. So it's not just a motivational. Motivation doesn't last long. You go to an event, you get excited, cool, life hits you within seconds. Your significant other calls you, someone got into an accident, whatever the case is, life happens. So it's those little steps, those 45 seconds that you were doing for a while, the 21 days, reconditioning your subconscious mind. So then consciously you make better decisions. So the answer to your question is yes. There's only so much things that you can process. I don't care if you're a genius in your mind. So what are you spending your energy on? Are you really focusing on little steps moving forward, or no, I'm going to do this one big step and it's going to happen? Man, those are few and far between, right? Yeah. That's why not everyone wins the lotto. And then people are like, well, I don't believe in the lotto. No one has ever won it. Well, in order to win the lotto, you got to play the game. And that's what life is about. You have to play the game of life.
Yes. And I love that you mentioned that too, because something else that I studied, I'm a psychology major from Guilford College. And so when I was studying psychology and studying consumer behavior, the things that keep coming up is a positive mind, a one that you feed love, you feed energy, positive energy to, and you nourish in that way, is a very creative mind. Whereas a mind that gets bogged down by negativity, frustration, disappointment, self-doubt, it's a really hard to be creative. It's a really hard to move out of that bag. You like work yourself into this dark, deep, dark hole. It's really hard to come out of that deep, dark hole if you keep feeding yourself the same garbage that put you in there. You have to feed yourself something different to get out. And positivity spurs on creativity. So another reason to stay positive and find ways to find that positivity in your life.
And surround yourself with the right people, right?
Yes.
You're not going to divorce your significant other right now because you guys may not agree with each other, because you're probably seeing more of each other than you have in a long time, right? Because of this whole lockdown thing. But love your family, choose your friends. Choose who you spend more time with. Chances are a lot of people don't spend time with their family because they're in different states or whatever the case is. But then once you're with them, give them your undivided attention. Spend quality time with those people that you love. However, the people you surround yourself with, like your buddies, your pals, your friends, or whatever the case is, make sure they're in the same mindset. If not, they will drag you down. Even if they're not doing it consciously. It's not like they want to hurt you on purpose. They themselves are hurt. There's a saying in Spanish, dime con quién anda y te diré quién tú eres. So basically, tell me who you are, tell me who you hang around with, and I'll tell you who you are. Not correct English, but it's the process. Who you surround yourself with. Are you surrounding yourself with all these people that maybe those people that tell you yes to everything? I'm going to be rich. Yes. I want to be fit. Yes. You don't want yes people around you. You want people to be real. You know, Terry, yes, you're going to be great. But you know what I've noticed, Terry? I noticed that, you've been missing out a couple of your sessions. I've been missing, being honest, that's what you want. People that hold you accountable. But we avoid those people because you know what? If we don't avoid them, we don't want to hear the reason why. We already know why we're not succeeding. So you want people like Terry.
They're going to hold my feet to the fire, Bert. Nobody wants that.
So you need people, like I said, you need people like Terry. You need people like, her husband with what he does, which automatically, I haven't met him yet, and I can't wait to meet him. But like she said, most clients hire a company like what he does, expecting that that's going to help them, but they themselves need to know who their market is.
Yes.
So people, I'll tell you one more thing before we go. A lot of people are order takers. They just take orders because they want to close deals. Become a consultant where you're not going to close as many deals, but you're going to be valuable to the people you work with. If you don't agree with something, like, look, I don't think that this should be the type of program you should get involved in. If you're honest with people, you're going to grow further than you ever thought you can grow. But if you go ahead and keep playing that game of closing my next deal so I can survive, that's where you'll be 20 years from now. Time flies. And you're going to go back and say, man, I should have, would have, could have. You want to be able to make the right decisions now.
Absolutely. Time goes by super fast. And it comes back down to, we have to build the relationship with ourselves first. We can't build a relationship with other people if we don't build the relationship with ourselves first. We have to be in love with ourselves and know how to show love to ourselves so that we can show love to each other. This has been so good, Bert. What's the best way for our audience to get in touch with you? I know you flashed it up there a couple of times.
Yeah, you can follow me on any social media. I've been doing this for a long time. So you can Google me if you want. You can go to any social media, type in the name Bert, B-E-R-T, Oliva, O-L-I-V-A. And you'll follow me and just follow me and say, hey, look, I saw you on Terry's show. You were great. I don't like your beard. I like your beard. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You can call me whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner.
That is so fantastic. And I've heard that line before. Hey, so I have one more question before I let you hop off here today. And I've so appreciated this time. You've been absolutely a wealth of knowledge. It's been a fantastic conversation. The last question I have for you is, if there was one thing you wish you knew when you were getting started, what would that be?
And to invest in yourself.
Mm.
You need to invest in yourself. Stop worrying about where I need to put my money. Stop worrying about if the Bitcoins are going to grow. Work on investing in you. Get into the right programs. When you do get into a program, make sure you play full out. Play full out in life. Stop sitting on the sideline. I bought that book, but I never picked it up and read it. Then you're not playing full out. Get involved. You want life to give you great things. You need to give great things to life. It's in the Bible. You reap what you sow. So what I want you guys to do before I leave, I just want to leave you with this message. You have greatness in you. I truly believe that. Everyone does. And the only person that holds them back is themselves. They blame their significant other or their friends, whatever the case is, but it's really just you. Tap into your greatness. We're all going through a tough time. No matter how much money you have, no matter what level of success you're at, we're all going through challenges. It's how you handle those challenges that makes you great. Don't give up on yourself. You can always give in, you can always give out, but don't ever give up. My name is Bert Oliva, Cuban born, American made. Remember to live life and don't let life live you. Let's give them a just.
This has been fantastic. I so appreciate it. To my listening audience, let us know that this hit the spot for you today. Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe this video. You know, we're going to have more of these YouTube lives now that I have it figured out, coming to you every Friday for this year. That's how we're going to be able to share this amazing show. And we want to know that we are getting you the information that you need that's going to best serve you to move the needle forward in your business, because that's what this is all about. Thanks so much for tuning in. And until next time, I'm Terry, your host, and we'll talk to you soon. Now, how do I stop it? Hold on.